Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rafecal. This is Final Fantasy VI. We just got our airship, and we are going to abandon it to go walk around a bunch. See if I can remember if there is. I'm double checking if there's a chocobo. Place to get chocobo. Yeah, chocobo stables. There we go. So we're going to start with a chocobo. What we're going to do is actually follow the route for Sabin's quest here, I believe. We're doing this on chocobo because I don't remember exactly where I'm going, and this is a lot safer and a lot faster than the other options. Yes, that is the cabin that you normally would get to. That's the Imperial Camp. And there's the Phantom Forest. Can we go through the Phantom Forest? We can go through the Phantom Forest. Awesome. So we can ride the chocobo all the way up here in one shot. The reason we're doing this is because we are trying to get all of Mog's dances. Mog learns his dances by fighting in different terrain. And there is one terrain that is only available during the first half of the game, and only available in certain very specific out-of-the-way areas. Mastered a new dance. This is not the one I was referring to, by the way, but we got our first dance at least. There are 8 dances for different terrains. We're going to use Wind Rhapsody here. There's a % chance of him missing the dances if you do that on the terrain that it's set in. So if you're fighting in a cave and you use the cave dance, it always works. If you are fighting in a different terrain and you use any given dance, different stuff can happen. We've only seen one effect from it. Each dance has 4 different effects that are determined randomly. Which is the reason dances aren't actually that good. Along with the fact that once you start dancing, you literally don't stop. That being said, occasionally there's a use for them. They're one of the few sources of wind-based damage in the game. Or water-based damage in the game. So this is the river sequence that normally you do as Sabin, Gau, and Cyan at the beginning of the game. And this is going to be how we learn the water-based dance. There we go. 2 down. We're going to be able to get all of them except 2. I want to say. I think it's all of them but 2. Before this next section. We're also not going to be sitting here using Mog a lot, because he starts out much higher level than the rest of our party. Music still sounds a little off. Either something with the patch or just the versioning. Meh. It's what we've got. So water has some really powerful magic-based attack. I believe a heal effect. I'm gonna stay on the left path. 2 lefts and we're done. It's the fastest route back. So yeah, that plasma attack that he keeps hitting is one of the most powerful things early game, but you have the disadvantage of you actually have to hit. You have to get the dance started, and you have to hit that 1 out of 4 chance to get plasma. We are going to go do a little world tour here after this and get several more dances all at once. Say water, just a big water-based attack one. It's obviously gonna heal those guys, I guess. Didn't even think about that. Okay. And we wash up in Nakia, which is where we left the airship. So the fact that you can take the Chocobo through most of that is what makes it tolerable. In the past, when I've done this, I've always accidentally started I've started in the Returner's hideout and done the whole loop that way, and it's way longer. I'm gonna quick check our espers. Zone Seeker. I think we're okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with her grinding on that for a little bit. Let's see what he's got left on Seraph. Plenty. I saw a bunch of stuff get learned, so there's other stuff that gets raised a lot faster. Let's check his level real quick. Plenty to go. I think I'm actually going to switch him to... let's go... Yeah, let's go Golem. He's still working on Drain, which is fine. Actually, you know what? Let's just leave him on Bismarck. That's fine. Once we get Zone Seeker done with her, we're gonna go to Catabliops, which was Shote in the original. To get Bio. We have several characters we want to learn Bio. Let's see, we want to go down here, I want to say. That's the cave at Figaro. And Mount Colts. Mount Colts is a mountain terrain with cave terrain, so we can actually get 2 dances here. Still can't get the mug off on those guys. They don't have a common drop, they only have a rare drop, so it's like a 1 in 8 chance, or even if it would hit, it's a 1 in 8 chance of it being a successful steal. And that should be one more. Master New Dance. There's 6. And we want to go to Zozo with the town one. There's actually a couple things here that we haven't... Actually, that's exactly what we wanted. Let's see if we can get a... Or only at 4. I was being dumb. These guys drop a relic that we want, so we're just gonna sit here until we get it. Maybe. Or until I get bored. Or until he dies, as Mug. Hey, look, another guy. We're gonna go ahead and do Love Serenade and Mug. He just cast that on himself, which I'm okay with. Okay. Oh, duh. Forest is next. By the way, I'm aware that this party is not doing very well. That's okay. It's weird how as soon as you cut out the Figaro brothers, your combat capability goes way down in the first half of the game. I believe this should be... Okay, Sandra's not bad. There's Desert. We've got the 7 that we can get in this side. We won't be able to get the other one until the second half of the game. And that was Mog's World 2. Unfortunately, Mog is higher level than everyone else right now, so we want to actually use a different party for this next section. Yeah, Locke's gonna get used in the next automatic section. We're basically stuck with Para and Locke at the next section, which is not a bad thing generally, I'm just saying. Let's actually go Sabin. Let me double check real quick here. Actually, you know what? Let's go... I think I'm actually just going to keep progressing here. We hit most of the little highlights that are important to hit right there. For the sake of variety, let's stick with a little bit of change. Sure. Start with the easy one. Beef Bracer. Brigand's Glove. Let's go. Hermes Sandals and sure, White Cape. Hermes Sandals, Knight's Code, and we'll stick with our classic earrings, Hero's Ring. She was on Zone Seeker. He was on something that taught Kira. There's a lot of things that teach Kira. Oh, was he on Ifrit? He was on Ifrit last. That's right. So we want him to get some strength boosts. He was on Bismarck, and we'll give him... Let's give him Kate Sith. Get that magic boost. Because magic is not his strongest suit. You can go in the back row. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do this. Zoom. Okay, this is the Imperial camp at the sealed cave. Shouldn't stand around. Let's go. Okay. And actually, let me double check real quick here. Yes, we're good. So, that 31 vials of holy water we bought earlier, this is where those come into play. And actually, let's make sure we've got somebody with Phantom, just for the first fight. Although, actually... No, we should be good. Stoneseeker... Magic... Did he get Phantom? Did somebody get Phantom? Maybe not anybody in this party. Darn. Okay, we'll go Phantom for a round then. So the vanish status lasts after combat. This means that until we actually finish this dungeon or get hit with a magic effect, we're good. So this part is pretty much just watching for the ones that have the good patterns. We are intentionally not equipping Locke with the Assassin Dagger that we just got. Oops. That was my bad. There we go. The Assassin's Dagger has a chance to randomly kill an enemy. When used against undead enemies, it automatically kills them and then revives them again. Oops. Looked at that wrong. We don't want to fight non-undead enemies here. Okay. The reason we use Vanish there is because most of these enemies use physical attacks, especially these zombie dragons. So we're basically immune to them while we're vanished going through here. Is it cheesy? Maybe a little. Is this cave long and kind of annoying and I'm okay with it? Yeah, I think I am. I'm gonna try and get some steals in because I think he can steal more holy water from one of the enemies. And I think it's this guy. That should kill him. No? Oh, they drop. Well, they can drop Phoenix Downs too. There's distant sound. I believe that lets us go back here. I do want to make sure I get all the stuff from this cave. That must be what I was thinking, that those guys can drop Phoenix Downs, rather. So those can also be used for this purpose. Is there anybody else that teaches Drain? I don't think so. Let's see. Kieran? No. Unicorn? Who else teaches Raise? I swear there was somebody else that taught Raise. Oh, Seraph's. It's the top one. Still good on Kate Sith, and still good on F. Okay. Carrying on. Another Genji glove, that's right. Lots of good stuff in this area. Trying to alternate using Raise when I can, and getting those mug hits in when I can to preserve those last couple holy waters I've got. We are starting to run low. We don't want to wait too long on these enemies because they do have that life shaver attack that can hit somebody. I believe this is a safe room. We actually need a tent. Probably be... yeah, it's not gonna hurt. We got 10. Let's do a tent. We'll have to resummon Phantom. But we can just do that during the first fight that we run into, and we'll be fine. Downside of pincer attack, we actually can only heal 2 people at a time. Okay. Okay. Nope. We're just gonna go ahead and beat him down, because we might use Life Shaver soon. Got some holy water. Just for beating? Oh! You get holy water back for beating them sometimes. Another little part there that always threw me off as a kid. That little section where you have to walk through the walls. So for the record, this section is full of pretty good experience for the area. I mean, it's not great, but it's decent. And we have gotten a decent chunk of money, which I know is part of the... That's right. Some of these move your stuff. Some of these end up not being good to push, and I don't remember which ones they are, unfortunately. Oops. That's not good. Okay, we're just gonna go ahead and nuke this real quick. Cyan should be learning Raise soonish, but it's only a 2x rate, so it's pretty slow. There we go. We got a holy water back. Okay. He's still learning Cura and Asuna. It's fine. Magic +1's fine. Yeah, we're good. Gotta figure this out quick. It's that. There we go. We should have like 12 Phoenix Stones now, I think, so we should be able to use a few of those if we need to. Ultima weapon? So, I don't think we're going to use it right now, but that's totally not actually accurate, the 255 there. Ultima weapon is a weapon that does damage based on your total hit points. If you have 9,999 hit points, it does max damage. If you don't, it's kind of sucky. It becomes far more mediocre. Science weapon has a chance at doing that wind slash attack right now, which is really cool. He's still working on Asuna. Just gonna screen off and back on there because I made that mistake. We're gonna walk around the button. We'll recast Vanish on Terra, by the way, when she actually learns the spell, which should be soonish. There we go. Okay. You know, I probably should have started this a little bit ago at this point, but let's go ahead and pick another question to start talking about while we're doing the rest of this cave and the grind therein. Fortunately, I think most of the other questions I have are either very specific, long topics. You know what? We're gonna risk it. We're gonna be bold here. So, one of the questions that I had, and probably the one that I was the most hesitant to answer, is Which game do you feel had more of an impact? Final Fantasy VI or Final Fantasy VII? And I feel like this is a very layered question. And it was kind of laid out in broad terms like a trap. So I'm gonna start with the easy part of the answer, which is, for me, oops, I missed it again. For me, Final Fantasy VI had a significant, much more significant impact. It's one of the first RPGs I played, and RPGs are my favorite genre now. It basically defined my favorite genre to me. So yeah, FF6 is the obvious choice for me. But I think the question was intended as a broader thing. So I wanted to talk about my opinion on FF6 and FF7. And really just kind of take a moment to talk about impact. I think there's very little question that FF7 is the more popular game. And I think that makes it more accessible to a lot of people just because it is more plastered in our culture. And by that I don't just mean pop culture. It is very much a part of the, I guess, nerd subculture in a way that FF6 isn't. And to an extent I've never quite understood it, but I did some thinking about it quite intentionally here. And FF7 was much more accessible, and it had very good timing. Up until this point, RPGs were not marketed, up until past the PlayStation, or past the Super Nintendo era. It was very rare for RPGs to be marketed in the US. Nintendo, especially, did not encourage a lot of RPGs, and they put a lot of limitations on the RPGs that were put out. We talked about censorship a little bit ago. A lot of RPGs had more story, had more impact that way. And the fact that they... Oops. So Japan didn't, or so Nintendo of America didn't release a lot of them because they were much more controversial. And honestly, they thought Americans were too stupid to play RPGs, or that they didn't have the attention span. And maybe that was market research, maybe that's saying something. But if you actually look at like games like Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, there are RPGs that were intentionally designed for American audiences that were kind of dumbed down. Final Fantasy II was a dumbed down version of the game. They lowered the difficulty curve for the American audience. But RPGs, starting with PlayStation, they stopped doing that as much. And part of that, I think, is because they were more cinematic also. So they thought they could catch things that way. There was a big boom around this time as far as the time that Final Fantasy VII was released that made it, I think, hit harder in the US market. And the big thing for that is it came out around the same time as the 90s anime boom. This is when that generation, my generation, started going to conventions. This is when my generation started, this is when Adult Swim started playing anime. That made a lot of that style that it embodies more accessible. And it kind of formed that community and subculture. There's a lot of Final Fantasy fandom that starts with Final Fantasy VII and starts at, cosplay and stuff like that. And I think part of that is also the 3D stuff in Final Fantasy VII is something that you can cosplay more. Like, if you see these sprites, you're not going to think about cosplaying it necessarily. Whereas the cool costumes in Final Fantasy VII, you would. Another thing, just timing-wise, is people my age who grew up, I literally grew up with Nintendo. My dad got a Nintendo when I was like 3, when he was going back to college. And there's a lot of that would kind of explain it. We were, I was 3 when the NES, or when my dad got an NES, and by the time I was playing this, I was, or by the time Final Fantasy, when this came out, I was still a kid. Like a kid. And when Final Fantasy VII came out, I was a teenager. And I had more patience for games like RPGs. And I would assume that there are other people who would have similar feelings. And when I say it's more available, I genuinely mean that FF7 was more available. PlayStation discs were cheaper to make. It was straight up re-released several times. 2 more Holy Waters, let's do 1 more, go. And, there's the Game of the Year edition, so it was not just more accessible, but cheaper also, because of those re-releases. And FF7, it was also released on the PC, which was also, PCs were becoming more accessible around that time. Basically, it was more affordable, it was more popular because of and it was more accessible in terms of fandom as well, or more visible because in terms of the fandom. That being said, if you're talking about impact, Final Fantasy VI started a lot of the things that made FF7 a thing. It was the point where Final Fantasy games started breaking away from the trend of Final Fantasy games. This is, the mark towards technology, the mark toward, we talked a little bit about this in the other one, but the mark towards technology, the mark towards, whoops. What am I trying to say? Mark towards technology, away from the 4 warriors and crystals thing, the rotating party, stuff like that. Now, this is where I'm going to take just a moment here before we go into this boss fight to be controversial. I think Final Fantasy VII is really overrated. I think the fact that it was so popular and that it came out at the time it did made a big impact on its popularity. I think it is more accessible partially because it is not as complex as some of the earlier games. It watered down the equipment system. It watered the characters have less mechanical differences between them. It's also the point to me where we get the first stoic protagonist. Cloud actually does still have personality, don't get me wrong, but compared to this game and the previous, and I'd say 4, 5, and 6 especially, compared to that, I feel like Final Fantasy VII's strengths as for characters are not really there. There's less characters, and while the characters are entertaining, they're less dynamic, in my opinion. There are a few characters that have really good arcs. And with the... I mean, I've always complained about Bangles as armor, and I feel like the materia system made the characters a little too customizable. There's no set magic user, there's no set thief, and the strengths don't even tie to the characters. It's not like 10 where you start out with that and you customize later. 7, 8, and 12 are fully customizable as far as which characters can learn what. The only thing that's different is their stats and their weapon in this case. And I don't feel like that makes it as strong of a game. I don't think it's a bad game. I just think there's a lot of people who talk about it like it's an 11, and it's like an 8, 7, somewhere around there. So, that is my controversial opinion, I'm sure, about FF6 and FF7. I just feel like FF6 is a stronger game, and if it came out at a different time and with a slightly different style of tech and more technology available, it may have been what FF7 is. We may see more people walking around with FF6 cosplay, with, FF6 fanfic. So yeah, there's that out of the way, and we'll go ahead and do the sealed gate. Part of the reason, just that we were doing that grind there is because we are coming up to that money point that I was talking about. We have a little bit of ways to go, and we have another spot we can grind, and we will be grinding, I promise. But we really just want to make use of these recyclable enemies, I guess, where you kill them in one hit with the holy water, and then steal more or get more. I love the fact that Kefka keeps talking about this, like he's going to this was all part of his plan. This is mostly just a scripted fight. You just basically stay alive. And very brief. Okay, we see a bunch of Espers run by. These are all Esper sprites that are used later in the game, or that we already have in some cases. The fact that there's some that we've already had, once again, kind of annoys me. I kind of wish that there were more, that they'd taken the time to actually design a few so they were different, or at least like palette swap them so there was something like, instead of just having Shiva come out, have it be like a green version of Shiva or something, so that we'd at least have some doubt in our mind that that was not actually the one we already had. Okay, so that was the sealed cave. Better head back to the airship. This is why we bought that teleport stone. And the Imperial Observation Post is mostly here to prevent you from warping past this story trigger. Espers all flew off together, the Imperials ran off too. The Espers went towards Vector. So we kind of got what we wanted. Kinda. As Locke tackles random party members. Why are we shaking? Okay, we get another neat little Mode 7 cutscene. This one's less terrible than the railroad. Okay, we're gonna end up crashing in Miranda, or near Miranda, which is the one town on the Imperial continent we conveniently haven't been to yet. It's almost like that was planned. That made me nervous for a second. Okay, and unfortunately, I actually need to save and head out right now. So, hope you've been enjoying these videos. We'll pick back up next time with continuing from this point. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comments. And as always, have a good one.